Our biggest challenge among the many challenges we face is how to shift the boundaries of debate. Now, that may not be how many of you have traditionally conceived of your work, but I'd like to suggest that it needs to be. And it has implications for the way you spend your scarce resources, the kind of skills you seek in your staff or use outside, the aims you have when you collaborate with each other and with your partners and with government, and more. So what are these implications? I guess I'd put it this way. I think that collectively, education funders face a choice. You can do good and continue to do good in the current sandbox, in the kind of the current parameters in which we're operating. Now, don't get me wrong. This is still the Lord's work. It is very important. You'll make a difference in many lives. So continuing the work that you've been doing will get you to the kingdom of heaven, I believe. But what I don't think it will do was enable the CEOs I was talking about that I was meeting with a week ago to say that they're going to create more good jobs here in America because they won't have the talent that they need on the scale they need to justify those investment decisions. So it may just be too incremental for what the country needs and what our kids need at this moment, especially at this moment really in the history of the evolution of global capitalism. So what would higher ambitions look like? I believe it would focus much more creatively and boldly on advocacy, on communications, on media influencing, and on what we might call constructive troublemaking at the grassroots level to alter the terms of debate. Now, these tasks involve deployment of what you might think of as sophisticated small p political skills. The goal would be to make it safe for politicians like our president and Arne Duncan and their counterparts at the state level, the governors, the legislators, et cetera, to call for changes they don't feel are politically viable today, because that's why they don't call for them. That's how democracy works. Andy Stern, the labor leader I admire, the head of the Service Employees International Union, who you may know, has a great phrase that I think he attributes to Martin Luther King. He says that to create real social change, quoting King, I believe, you have to change the direction of the wind. You have to change the direction of the wind. Once you do that, everything else follows. So I think in our work, we have to be willing to take more risk to move the debate and change the climate of opinion. Now, please understand, I consult with some education funders, and I know there are legitimate forces that produce, at the margin, timidity and a kind of small c conservatism when it comes to choices about some of these activities. But I would urge you to think that when the stakes are this high, you need to revisit what may be assumed premises or inhibitions about what you can do in this terrain. As you know, the $1.5 billion that you all spend collectively each year is a drop in the bucket when it comes to national education spending. The only way, I submit, that you'll have lasting, ultimate impact on the scale you seek is by changing the effectiveness of what government does, and the only way to do that is to change the climate of opinion, and to change the interest group dynamics so that political leaders feel safe and ultimately feel compelled to act with more urgency because they'll pay a bigger price if they don't. And that's not the equation that our leaders face today.